Finally, we did it. We bought a salvage car from an online auction. After years of looking at salvage auctions online, basically on IAAI and Copart, I finally bought a salvage electric car. I've been looking at them, and actually the car I'm sitting in was intended to be for a project, but it turned out not to be for the project. So we still needed one, and so I've been looking at this for many years at many different cars, but I never pulled the trigger. Finally I did, and I purchased a salvage Tesla Model S from Copart. It was kind of scary if you've never done such a thing before. First time around, it can be a little scary, and there's a lot of money involved. And for us here in Montana, it's tough because we're nowhere near where Copart or IAA has any electric cars on their yard. The closest Copart yard here is in Helena. The next one would be in Spokane, Washington. But neither one ever really had an electric car. Actually, Spokane had a Tesla Model 3 at some point. So, but most of them are far away, and there's so many things you need to know and need to be aware of. And I learned more and more over the years, and I'm going to share that with you today. So first, it's not free to even look at cars anymore. If you want to get all the information, then you have to pay a membership fee. So I did pay at Copart is $59. So I was with Copart. IAA, I think, wanted $200 just to look at. It will allow you to bid some. I looked into this IAA thing, and it was too expensive in my opinion, just mainly for looking if you're not buying. So the $59 for Copart were much better, and I was able to see the information I needed to see by paying this, and I had access to the VIN of the cars that were auctioned off, because that's kind of important, because you want to Google that VIN, you want to search it online and see if there's any other information out there about this particular car. Because sometimes people buy a car at an auction, they take a certain part out of it. With electric cars, usually they take the battery pack out of it or the drivetrain, one of the two or both, and then send them back to the auction. And you don't know that by looking at the pictures. It's kind of impossible to see. The few pictures that they take for the auction doesn't show any of that. On Copart, you can purchase a report where they go out and do some more pictures and a couple extra things, but that's mainly for internal combustion engine cars. If you have an EV, you don't get much out of that report. I paid for one, and it was not worth it. The other option is you hire somebody. You can actually, when you're looking at these things on Copart, they have advertisements there, if you want to say that, or there's companies out there that will actually go in, look at that car for you, and give you a report. But again, those reports are streamlined towards ICE cars, not electric cars. And so even if you talk to some of those companies and say, hey, could you look at this? Could you look at that? They say, well, we just have a independent somebody go there and look at it, and no, we can't do that. And so, yeah, they just send an inspector from somewhere, and that inspector always does the same thing regardless. So, and it costs money, and so that was not an option for us either. We can't go look at it. We're too far away from all of it. So that is the biggest hurdle for us here. If you're closer to a auction yard somewhere, that will work much better for you. If you can actually go look at it, that is the best thing that you could do. But otherwise, you gotta be super careful that you don't fall into a trap there and buy something. I mean, I heard many horror stories, and if you're paying $15,000 or so for one of those cars, and then there's no battery pack in there, ooh, that hurts. That hurts badly. So, all that said, we didn't have the option to go look at. And then another big problem along with that is you can't just bid on every car. Unless you're a car dealer or a wrecking yard and you have licenses to prove so, you can only bid on certain cars. And so like on Copart, you can click on a thing to check if you're able to purchase this vehicle or not. And you can actually put a filter in when you're searching for certain cars. And I found that maybe about 10% is what we could buy. And the problem is some of these are across the country, far away from us, 1,000+ miles from us. And so that is another little issue there, because if it's so far away, obviously there's no way you can go look at it. And you got to get it back to your place. And how do you get it back to your place? Well, you could hire somebody. On Copart's website, you can actually put your zip code in, and then there's a estimated quote that they give you how much it will cost to bring this vehicle to you. And quite frequently, there was not even an option to get this car to us. They said there's not an option at this time. And the others were usually pretty expensive. Most of them for the distance were extremely expensive. And so then the question comes up, well, can you afford to have somebody bring this car here? Or can you possibly go get it and save the money? That is the route we went. We went to go get it. So, but anyway, you got to choose your vehicle. And I came up with a thing where when I was feeling ready, I looked at many different vehicles, by the way. I looked at Chevy Bolt, Chevy Volt. I looked at Nissan Leafs. And I looked at the Tesla Model S 85. So these were kind of my things that I was looking at, because these cars have the things in them that I need for the project that we wanted to do like 2 years ago. So let me show you what I've done to figure out what car I want to bid on. So besides looking at a bunch of cars, obviously you gotta have a budget and know how much money you can spend. And now that said, on Copart, if you just pay the $59, I think you can bid up to like $2,000 or something. And after that, you have to give them more money as a deposit to then be able to bid higher. And the deposit is like 10% of the bidding amount, I believe. So if you give them $1,000, then that brings your bidding power up to 10 plus the 2 they already give you. So you would have like $12,000. And I brought our bidding power up to $16,000, because that is the max I would spend on the car. But then there's fees on top of that, and we get to those a little bit later. But anyway, so you obviously want to look at these different cars. You want to watch some of the auctions. You want to see the results, how much they go for. And doing that, pretty much all the cars fell off the table except the Tesla Model S. Tesla Model S at the auction came down in price. It was surprising. They got a lot cheaper over the past year, so that made it interesting. And I obviously was looking at old Model S, 2012, 2013, maybe 2014. That was about it, just rear-wheel drive. And since we had this car here, obviously in my head is like, oh, maybe I can swap some parts, put them on this car, have spare parts or whatever. So that was kind of in the back of my mind looking at all these cars. So to be safe that nobody stole a battery pack already out of this car that I would be purchasing, I made sure the car was sold by an insurance company. So if it comes from an insurance company, it will be listed on Copart. It will say which insurance company it is. If it doesn't state that, you don't really know where the car comes from. So you don't know if anybody bought it, took stuff out of it, and threw it back in the auction. If it's insurance, then you know it was a decent car before. It was not a salvage car previously because it wouldn't be there. And so that makes it relatively good. It gives us a good feeling anyway, knowing that the car is what we're looking at more or less. There's another thing when you look at cars on the car on the back. Obviously, you quite frequently have these decals showing what car it is. And I don't know who, if the auction yard or maybe the former owner makes the car look like bigger or better, you know. So in a case of a Tesla, maybe a Tesla with a 60 kilowatt hour battery, but somebody puts the 85 on. Some people put the performance on, you know, and just making it look like it is more. So that's a little tricky to tell by looking at it. So you want to use the VIN, and I use the VIN on Tesla Tap, and on these older cars you can actually see if it's a performance model, and it will tell you what size battery it is. And it will also tell you there, like if it has dual chargers. That's another thing that pops up there on the older cars. The newer the cars get, the less the VIN specifies what it is. So, but with these older cars, you can do that. So that's what I done. And obviously, now looking basically at Tesla Model S 85, I didn't want the performance because performance had problems with the drive unit. So I was not really interested in a performance model. I wanted a base model, but I wanted the 85 kilowatt hour battery pack. That was one of the important things. So what I did, I printed out the possible options. So I went through one day when I decided that's gonna be the thing here. I went through and I chose 4 of the cars. And so like I said, I looked at it and I wanted it to be sold by an insurance. And then I looked, ran the VIN, made sure it's an S85, not a performance preferably. Also, so when you get a such listing, they list a whole bunch of stuff on Copart, and one of the other important things is keys. And so I have one here that has no key. If you purchase one without a key, a Tesla, that may be really tough, okay? I mean, if it's completely trashed, it don't matter probably, but I was looking at cars that are not in extremely bad shape, so that I possibly, you know, that I get some parts out of it that I could sell and enough for my project. So like this one, it looks pretty nice from this side. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see, but there's down here, this damaged front driver side looks pretty bad. So for me, looking at those, I was looking at possibly getting 19-inch wheels off that car to have another set of wheels for our car. And I didn't want the 21s because 21s are expensive. Tires are expensive to purchase. And the rims actually don't, if you sell them, they don't bring so much money. So I wanted 19-inch. And so that was one of the things I was looking for. Also, what they do list on Copart sometimes is a run and drive. And then, you know, basically that thing would fire up and they were actually able to drive it at the time it came in. So that's, I mean, an even better benefit, right? Some do, some don't. So that is kind of, yeah, hit and miss. So, but anyway, so then the first one I picked here was actually this one. And this is an 85 Performance. Had no key. That was no good. And it only had a single charger. So these older Model S can come with dual chargers. And then they can charge twice as fast on a level 2 charger if the charger can provide enough power. And so this only had a single charger. And thinking about possibly taking my parts off and selling the rest of the parts. I mean, if it has 2 chargers, even if I would keep one, I could sell one, right? So if it has 2, that would be a benefit. And most people wouldn't even know about that or necessarily look at that. So, but this one here, I did consider a possibility, not necessarily what I wanted. And by the way, you don't want to have too many choices, so you need to narrow it down to a few. Otherwise you get stuck. I mean, yeah, I had on my watch list, I sometimes had 40-50 cars, but that wouldn't really work. So then this one here looks almost the same. This is now an 85 base. It only had one charger, came from an insurance, had 19-inch base wheels. The base wheels we basically already have, so I would have preferred a different style wheel. And this car actually went at the auction, the high bid was only $8,500. It was sold on approval, which means the insurance still had to say yes or no because it was below the price what they wanted. I don't know if it sold or not. I didn't follow up on that. It may have went back to the next auction. But in the meantime, I already moved on, and just a couple days later, the car that I have now is, came up, so I didn't care anymore. So this was another option here, and I considered that a great option. Again, that was an 85 base. This had dual chargers, 20 kilowatt chargers. It had 19-inch base wheels and just had minor damage on the back end. So it had tan interior, not really my favorite. Tan interior has let's put it this way, any other than the gray interior has the disadvantage I cannot use anything in this car here. And then this here, this was my best option. Came from the insurance, 85 base, had 19-inch wheels, and it had different wheels. I don't know. Maybe they're slipstreams. I don't know. There's so many different names that they have for all these different wheels. If you know, comment below what these are. But that's the kind of wheel. It's a 19-inch that I wanted. And it's the type we don't have. We already, all the other cars had the base wheels. This is the type we don't have. So that would be cool to have, I thought. And yep, dual chargers, and it had this black thing sticking out. It had a hitch on it, which is kind of cool because I would like to have a hitch on this car here. So a part that we can swap from one car to another. It's just always great. So that's how I did this, and I chose them like that. And then I went on and I watched these auctions. So the one for $8,500, since that was not my favorite one, I never bid on it. So I just waited, and the other ones went for a little more money. And we ended up getting this one right here, which looks perfect from this side here. And it actually only has very minor damage on the driver's side on both doors. There is a few dents in the B-pillar because it pushed kind of hard into the B-pillar there, but they're just dents. It didn't actually do anything to the frame or anything like that. Basically, 2 new doors would have made this car super nice and drivable. Problem is, it would still be a salvage car at that point. This one here, we didn't know how many miles it had. The miles for me were not a concern, and if you know, if you've been watching us, this car here had 192,000 miles, I think, when we bought it. So basically 200,000 miles. That didn't bother me at all. It's an electric car. It has no problem going the distance. So I didn't care how many miles this really had. The screen showed 15,000 miles, but that was a trip meter. That was not the odometer. So nobody really knew how many miles it really had. But that's the one we went for. So, what else do you need to know before you go in and bid? Well, like I said, there's fees that are being added. And so here, this is the invoice that we got. And we paid $15,000 for the car, which was more than I wanted to, but the car was worth it in my opinion. And obviously, that's everybody has an opinion, right? So, unfortunately, I wanted to be below 15,000. I mean, the lower the better anyway, but the fees go up higher, and at 15,000 it steps up to a higher fee, so that kind of sucks. But then there's other fees. Then there's a government imposed transaction fee, $5, and then environmental fee, $10. Then there's the buyer fee. Just because you buy this thing, it's now $1,050 on top of it. Then there's a virtual bid fee. I mean, what? Just because I buy it online, I have to pay another $129? Weird stuff. And I don't think they do live auctions anymore since COVID. I'm not sure. Maybe they do again. But so, well, another way to make money for them. Then there's a gate fee, $79. I mean, I don't know what they're doing for the gate fee. Maybe that's because maybe they loaded it up. I don't know that they did. I should have asked the company that I had it pull out of there. Then I had to leave it sit there for a couple days, and I got a storage fee for that. The storage fee starts out like the first day is $5, then it's like $10 the second day, then it's $15 the third day, the fourth day it's $20, and then it just keeps going up like $5 or $10 every day. So it becomes expensive really quick. But well, I had to pay that storage fee. And so the total payment was $16,273 for the car. That was what the car cost me just to purchase to get it out of Copart's lot. But I couldn't go get it right away. It was far away. It was 1,700 miles away. And I couldn't just get up and go. I had 10 days in between, because we actually went on vacation. So I couldn't go get it right away. And I located a towing company down there that would be able to pick it up and then store it for me until I can come get it. And so there was an additional cost there again. So they said, yeah, he's going to go pick it up for $100, and he would charge me $20 a day to store it there. So I ended up with another $300 of cost right there. If I wanted to have it shipped here, that would have been like $4,900 on top of everything. So that was, whoa, that was like, no, can't spend another $5,000 to get it here. I knew I could get it cheaper. So we actually went and got it ourselves. My father-in-law came with me. He has a car hauler, a trailer. And so we took my truck, hooked his trailer to my truck, and we drove 1,700 miles down there. Really quick. I think we left Wednesday around noon, and we were there Thursday night, spent that night in the hotel, and then on Friday morning picked the car up and headed back. So that whole trip added about $1,000, maybe $1,100 of cost to this whole project. So you can see it adds up really quick, and it is not cheap to buy from an auction, and you're still buying a salvage car, so it's not like a new car. Now, that's why this one here, we bought this one because this is not a salvage car. This was a car that came from a dealership, and it was in great condition, obviously. That's why we kept it. But so this car was $25,000, and I'm already at about, what, $17,000, $18,000 for a salvage car at this point. And the funny thing is, at around the same time, a couple days after I actually purchased this one here, a Tesla Model S popped up in San Bernardino, California for sale for $18,000 from a private party. It didn't have the glass sunroof and all the stuff. It had the regular metal roof, but it was obviously in good condition. It was not a salvage, and it was drivable. And the guy just wanted to get rid of it because he wanted to buy another toy. And so, well, that would have been great. I mean, $18,000 for a running car with no damage. But then I want to take the car apart because I want some stuff for my project, right? So that's that hurts too if you have one that basically is not salvaged and you want to take it apart. So yeah, you gotta find and research all this stuff exactly. Make sure you look at all the fees before you go in and buy, because there's always additional fees. Make sure you can get it back to you. make sure that if you're buying an electric car that it has a battery pack and a drivetrain in it, obviously, on these auctions. And then there was another hiccup that happened when we got the car, first time seeing it in real life, there was no hitch on it. And in the pictures here, I mean, it's clearly visible there's a hitch on this car. But when we got the car, there was no hitch on it. And that is kind of tricky, because now what do you do? Because basically, according to the pictures, I get a hitch. Who took it, right? Did somebody at Copart take it off and sell it private? Maybe one of the people working there? Or did the towing company take it off and make some money on it? I mean, we don't know, right? Well, after, talking to the person at the towing company, I was sure he didn't take it. And he was not into EVs anyway and stuff. And now I knew he wouldn't be. He's not that guy. He's a really nice person. So my thinking was, this is one of those Copart horror stories where somebody at Copart just took it. And so I kind of played the game and contacted the manager at that location and said, hey, do you have any pictures of that car leaving the gate? Do you have cameras there so we could see if there is a hitch on it? And he said, yeah, we have cameras, and I can look. Which car was it? So I gave him the information. He looked it up and he said that, oh, I'm sorry, we took that hitch off. We had a service ticket to remove that hitch. I didn't know they had a service ticket for anything there. I mean, once the car's there, it's there, I thought. I don't know, but that's besides the point. I didn't want to ask into that. He said, yeah, they took the hitch off. So they took new pictures without the hitch and were supposed to upload them, but for some reason they were not uploaded. So then this became a little for and back, and he said, well, all I can offer you is I give you the money back that you paid for the car, not the fees, just the money you paid for the car, and I'll have it picked up at your place. And I'm like, what the heck? Are you kidding me? I mean, all the fees I paid over $1,000 of fees just to them. I picked the car up, so I got another $1,000 into it just for picking it up. And then you want to give me just the money back? And he said, oh, maybe it goes to the auction again, and then you could possibly purchase it cheaper. Possibly not, right? So it's like, I told him, dude, this is totally senseless. I mean, that's going to cost you way more money. I'm losing all the money. Why don't you just pay me for that hitch? And I sent them a link to the hitch online. It was $499. And he said, well, I have to hand that up higher. And I said, okay. And, well, a couple weeks later, I had a check for $500. So we got a brand new hitch instead. So that worked out good. That made me happy. So overall, the experience wasn't too bad. It was, yeah. I mean, once you buy this thing, you're certainly excited. But yeah, you have to do your research before you buy something from an insurance auction like that. That is pretty tricky. And so obviously we'll bring you more videos of this car, and we'll bring you a video when we went and got it. So you can see how it got loaded and all that stuff, brought it home, and well, I'm getting the parts out of it for the one project that I started 2 years ago. And I'm getting some more parts out of it for this car. And yeah, because they're kind of matching a lot here. Maybe I do even more projects, but we'll see that as time goes on. So make sure that you are subscribed and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of those future videos. We'll do lots of cool stuff here. Maybe upgrade this car a little bit, because there's many parts we possibly could take off that car that we purchased and put on here. So yeah. Well, in any event, please give us a thumbs up for this video. Share this video with other people, with friends, family, anybody, if you like them or not. So, and also don't forget, there's a link down below in the description for our Redbubble store. Go look at our Redbubble store. Check out the t-shirts and other things we have. That would be a easy and great way to help our channel out a little bit. We make just a little bit of money on there, not very much at all, but that would be great if you would support our channel that way as well. But make sure you're subscribed, hit the notification bell, give us the thumbs up, and keep watching our videos. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.